Well, hello, Science Warriors. Welcome here to our first video in our Flipped Classroom series. Today we're going to be talking about lab safety because our classroom is a science classroom, and at times it will become a laboratory, or however you would like to say it. So we need to talk about some safety precautions and safety procedures so that way we can minimize accidents in the classroom. We don't need to read the copyright information, but the purpose for this lab safety is to make sure that when we are hands-on and working with different materials in the classroom, um, that we keep everyone safe. And safety is the number one priority for me, the teacher, and it should also be the number one priority for you, the student. As well as I know that your parents are also concerned with your safety when we start working with things like heat, um, any type of chemicals, or things that could potentially harm your health. So, the knowledge of safety practices includes what to do in emergencies. So, the more trained you are, the better and calmer you will be when a situation does arise, because accidents do happen. So, one of the things is that we need to identify potential dangers that can occur. Now, a lot of this can be prevented if we wait for the safety briefing before every lab. Labs are going to be set up usually in the classroom beforehand. So there will be materials out and about in the classroom. So please make sure that when you come into the classroom, do not touch anything until those safety precautions have been discussed with the entire class. Okay, this is to maintain a level of security for all people in the room. So that is very, very important. So, students should make sure that you follow all directions given by the teacher at all times. That one is rule number one. Also, when we are working on labs, there will be procedures. Those procedures are to be read and executed step by step. Okay, this means you must read step one, complete that step before you go on to step two. Reading beforehand the entire procedure is recommended, but it is not necessary 100% of the time. As long as you are going step one, completing that step, then step two, then completing that step, you should be fine. And then the last thing is definitely you should know where all of the safety equipment is located within the classroom. Maybe you excuse me. There we go, a better view for everybody. So for instance, the big safety equipment we have is, of course, our eye wash station, fire extinguisher, first aid kit, and our safety shower, which we'll be learning in class through some activities, the locations, and reviewing the purposes of these different safety pieces of equipment. Okay, you should also know that you should work in a well-ventilated area and use a fume hood. Well, unfortunately, we do not have a fume hood because we will not be working with chemicals that require that particular safety step. But as you get older, you will learn and use a fume hood, which helps protect you from noxious gases that may develop from an experiment or an activity. We want to make sure that we wash our hands with soap and water to keep them clean. Get anything off of them at the end of the lab. In case of, for instance, if you go to lunch with chemicals on your hand, then that chemical will then get into your mouth and could cause you to get sick. We want to keep our lab areas clean. And then before we leave, we want to make sure that the lab area has been picked up, organized, and properly, or all the equipment is properly unplugged. And then, of course, if there's any accident or spill or break in anything, even scratches in some equipment, please notify the teacher, which is going to be me, so that we can handle that and check it for its safety. All right, and then one of the last things, do not begin the lab until you are told to do so. Okay, and you cannot work on anything without the teacher being present. That is super, super important. Any food, drinks, and gum, do not bring it. Um, So you should not bring food, drinks, gum. I'm going to reiterate that. That's very, very important. If you do, let me know, and we will put it in a safe place so that nothing bad can happen to it. And of course, there's no goofing around or horseplay around in lab. This means no messing with other students, no messing with their equipment, um, because if you do, okay, that can cause you to be pulled out of the lab activity and can result in a not as optimal grade for that particular day. And labs are worth 20% of your 6 weeks average. So that's very important that you participate in those. Okay, so some of the safety equipment we have, of course, is goggles, or they say eyewear. Okay, when you get older, you will see many different types of goggles. The ones we have in class are designed to go over regular glasses. They may be quite warm and might fog on you. That is okay, but we need to keep those on the entire time of the activity. They protect your eyes from all different kinds of possibilities, including fragments coming at your face, protect them from fumes, protect them from splashes, from liquids. So there's a lot of importance to a set of goggles. Gloves will be used when necessary. Not all lab activities will require gloves, but they will protect your hands from things like chemicals that might burn or irritate the skin. They can protect your hands from particularly nasty or disgusting substances. Um, and they can also keep cross-contamination from happening. Contamination is when one substance comes into contact with another, and then they therefore have mixed. Well, a lot of times in science, mixing of two substances can be a bad thing if they are not what you're trying to do in the experiment or in the activity. So we want to keep those separate as much as possible. They can be made out of cloth, rubber, and leather, depending on the usage. Cloth is good for when you're not working with liquids. Rubber is good for when you're using chemicals, and leather is good for when you're dealing with heat, sparks, and anything that's really rough or could be sharp. Okay, lab aprons, your attire. You must wear closed-toed shoes, no heels on the shoes. This way you have a sure footing. We're going to wear long pants and long sleeves. This way, chemicals cannot splash onto the skin. Aprons and lab coats, we typically do not need to use in 6th grade, but they are there to protect your clothing from things that could potentially stain them or cause other damage to the clothes, and could also soak through your clothes and actually touch your skin. For those of you with long hair, you will need to tie that hair back. Keep it out of your face. We don't want it to dangle down in front when you have your head over a hot plate or a beaker with chemicals in it. And then loose and baggy clothing need to be left at home. Those loose and baggy clothing could accidentally hit and knock over something, and we want to keep that to a minimum as well. So, some chemical rules: do not taste or smell any chemicals in the lab unless you are directed to do so. We are going to waft things towards our nose by taking our container and taking our hand and pushing the air towards our nose. This is wafting. This keeps our sense of smell safe, but we can still observe the odor. Okay. Glassware and equipment. Okay, do not use dirty, chipped, or broken glassware at any time. If you notice a crack or a chip in something, please let me know so that we can dispose of it properly and get you a new container. All right. Also inform of any damage you might see on any kind of electrical equipment. Okay, frays in the wires, cuts or holes in the wires. If there is a dirty surface that appears to have something on it that you can't identify, um, please, you must let the teacher know immediately. And also make sure you wear your proper protective gear when dealing with glassware. Okay, hot and cold glassware do look the same regardless of its temperature. So always treat it as if it was hot. Okay, heating substances. Okay, we're not going to be using flames, but if you do, make sure that that flame is a safe distance from you, and never lean over an open flame. Use tongs and protective gloves to heat glass and metal so that you do not burn yourself. Okay, and I will have what is called the Material Safety Data Sheet, or the MSDS. This provides me with information that will, if there is any kind of accident or anything, then we can look at exactly how to treat and take care of, whether it be a chemical touching the skin, or what other kind of first aid measures we must take. Okay, and here are some resources that this information came from. That is going to end our first video for today about general safety procedures and things that are important. Um, Please make sure that you complete your notes on this particular topic, and I look forward to seeing you in class so that we can continue with our activities and learn a little bit more about specifically what is in our classroom to help us in case of an emergency. Hope you guys have a great day, and we'll see you next time.